It's a scene played out every summer for a century and a half. The irresistible attraction of the waters of Lake Geneva and its namesake yacht club. Over the years, it's been equally powerful for kids and adults alike. Creating champions, strengthening families, building friendships, and ensuring the future of sailing. And at the center lies the Lake Geneva Yacht Club and the Geneva Lake Sailing School, now operating under one roof, the Buddy Melges Sailing Center.
In 1938, I sailed my first race here. I've been here about 75 years.
It's only fitting that Smiley Freitag is here the day the yacht club is torn down. He watches the demolition with bittersweet memories.
It is sort of sad, but it's progress. This will be a big improvement for the future generations.
And the future has been built on a rich history. It all started with a boat race in 1874 to entertain Lieutenant General Philip Sheridan.
He was a Civil War hero, and by then, of course, the war was over, but he was stationed in Chicago. He was very popular, very highly liked and admired. He was interested in seeing a sailboat race. So they put together this sailboat race, last minute sort of thing. The last day of August in 1874, they were all sandbaggers. There were 7 boats, but this race was very exciting. The local people stood on the shoreline and cheered. Lots of money changed hands. And this boat named Nettie, a 21-foot sloop, won the first race.
The Nettie was skippered by local legend Billy Woods and owned by former Chicago Mayor Julian Rumsey. But the race was all about General Sheridan. And so, almost every year since 1874, the end of the summer season is celebrated with a race called the Sheridan Prize.
The Sheridan Prize is one of the oldest trophies in the United States. And it's a model, sterling silver model of Nettie.
The excitement and success of that first race was the spark that encouraged the collaborative spirit of the Geneva Lake sailors. They met in April of 1876 at the Whiting House Hotel and drew up the bylaws of what was initially called the Geneva Lake Yacht Club, a club that would go on to produce some of the greatest sailing champions of the 20th century. Sailing flourished on Lake Geneva as the number of club members and regattas grew, and the shape and speed of the sailboats evolved.
They were sailing sandbaggers, stodgy old boats that were hard to sail, just required a tremendous amount of manpower. Every time you'd tack, they'd have to haul bags of sand and gravel from one side to the other to make ballast to keep the boat from tipping over. When the scow came, the performance was just so much dramatically higher that it captured the imagination of all of these people who were racing.
By 1899, the sandbaggers had been all but retired from Lake Geneva racing. The Sheridan Prize that year was won for the first time by a scow. By the early 1900s, membership growth demanded a clubhouse.
A number of members from Chicago, people started moving up after the fire. They decided to build a clubhouse in 1906 at Cedar Point, which is in Williams Bay, directly across from where we are today.
The clubhouse at Cedar Point was used for 10 years. Then in 1926, the second clubhouse was created when the yacht club purchased the old Cook Place and renovated it.
In 1938, the sailing school started as the Lake Geneva Yacht Club Sailing School.
That lasted until 1953.
When it went on its own, separate entity completely, but with the great support and assistance of the yacht club, and it became the Geneva Lake Sailing School.
In 1967, a new building was constructed on an adjacent piece of land. donated by past Commodore Ernst Schmidt, whose family played a critical role in the growth of the yacht club.
I remember with Ernst Schmidt, our benefactor of the facility, and everything that went with it, and how kind he was.
He was a very important person in the yacht club. Got things done. He was a good sailor. He won the Sheridan Prize a few times. He was always active in the sailing school, and his father, Dr. Otto Schmidt, whose name is on that big trophy up there, was given in his memory, was similar in the fact that he helped a lot. I think this feeling of being a volunteer that has carried on and that is very, very important to the welfare of the club.
And it was the welfare of the club and the sailing school that prompted another change. The last clubhouse stood for almost 50 years, but after a half-century, the yacht club and the building constructed in 1991 for the sailing school were both outdated and too small. The land was cleared and the buildings demolished, and by the summer of 2015, after much deliberation, planning, and leadership, a new facility housing both the yacht club and the sailing school was completed. The Buddy Melges Sailing Center was born. And not unlike when a new child is delivered, the praise and congratulations came pouring in.
It's absolutely fabulous. This facility is second to none. Well thought out, beautifully laid out. Everything is just tremendous.
I've sailed around North America, and you would be hard-pressed to find a club that has been done this well, with so much thought put into not only sailing school instruction, but adult club activities as well. I mean, it's absolutely spectacular.
This is a dream come true for a lot of us.
Think about the foundation that this building and this enhanced facility provides, and I think it's a phenomenal platform to provide for moving forward for many, many generations of sailors.
Very nip and tuck. It was particularly nip and tuck going around the gate the last time, going downwind with their spinnakers up.
Certainly you're sailing against just amazing competitors out there that just don't make mistakes.
It's what it's all about. That's why we do this stuff.
The thrill of victory is always a little sweeter when you know you're competing against the best. And Lake Geneva has a reputation for producing world-class champions.
It's the competition. Just sailing doesn't drive me. If I'm going out, I'm going around the buoys and try to beat up on somebody else.
That competitive fire is what's driven Buddy Melges to one of the winningest careers in the history of sailing. And it seems to run through the veins of the Lake Geneva Yacht Club.
Competitors a lot of them are dear friends that you spend a lot of time socially with and everything else. And then you want to go out there and beat lumps on their head if you can.
Buddy Melges Jr.
Buddy's resume of winning is well documented. 2 Olympic medals, 3 consecutive Mallory Cup national championships, an America's Cup victory, and dozens of other national and international championships, many with talented crew from the Lake Geneva Yacht Club.
In 1964, we got to the Olympics. Bill Benson was very intelligent. He could bring in everything that was outside in the world in that particular class and bring it, analyze it, talk to me about it. We'd change this, change that. We could see if it was a good adjustment or a bad adjustment, and was a way to initiate new ideas and single thinking about how to make the boat go faster.
He just had more ability and sense of sailing to make a boat move through the water.
Buddy's competitors and teammates point to his Midwest inland lake training as part of the reason for his success.
That was a good one.
Well, racing on the lakes in the Midwest is challenging. The wind comes from all over the place. You've got to be in tune with the weather. The coast kind of forget that there's good sailing that goes on in the lakes.
He could read the wind, he could read the waves, and he knew how to put the boat in the most optimal position. And that's magical.
Just think of what he's done. I mean, living on a small lake in Geneva, Wisconsin. It's just his sailing accomplishments, which people will acknowledge and recognize as being at the very top.
It's kind of cool that Wisconsin can brag that it's got America's greatest sailor.
The respect for Buddy's sailing routes has been reinforced by the success of the local sailors who followed him. Lake Geneva's reputation is widely acknowledged.
Other clubs know that when Lake Geneva shows up, some of the silver is leaving.
But Buddy is far from the only sailor from Lake Geneva to win on the regional, national, and international stage.
My father was very competitive, and when you competed to win. So I think I inherited that trait.
Jane Pagel was a superwoman in sailing. She won multiple inland championships, 2 U.S. Women's Sailing Championships, was named U.S. Yachtswoman of the Year 3 times, and the coup de grace was inducted into the U.S. Sailing Hall of Fame in 2021.
You build all these skills, and finally it starts to click. But you have to be able to not be afraid to reach out and compete and get your butt kicked.
And there have been many more sailors from Lake Geneva who have gone on to reach the highest levels of sailing.
Tremendously competitive because you've got world-class competitors like Brian Porter and Andy Burdick and Harry Melges, the 4th and 3rd, and any number that are lifting other sailors to real high levels. And that competition within the club really lifts the whole club.
I just really like the feeling of the wind going through my face and just the excitement of racing against other people my age.
There you go, on the left, stay on the left.
From the beginning, the Lake Geneva Yacht Club has been committed to teaching the next generation of sailors.
You balance that boat up.
And it all starts with families.
Long history of our family sailing here. I began with my father, who was a passionate sailor, and as soon as I could walk and talk, I think I was on the boat and third crewing for him.
I'm actually the 3rd generation sailor. It all started with my grandmother, Jo Burton, known as Auntie Jo, and was such an inspiration to us as kids. I maintain that her love of sailing and the love of the kids, getting them involved in sailing at a young age, and just being that inspiration.
Well, my father won the Sea Inland in 1921, and then sailed his whole life up here with the yacht club, and of course he bought an M20, which was newly came out, and that was kind of the boat that he dragged my twin brother and I into to sail, and that got us going in sailing, and it kind of went on from there.
Lake Geneva has a long tradition and history of producing great sailors.
Clarence Sills was a great sailor here in the 39, 40 era. Bill Freitag, Peter Freitag, Charlie Lynn, I could go on and on. The Carlson brothers. I think it was 1957, we had 9 boats of the top 10 in the Inland Championship. So when you think of that, unbelievable.
We also have a long tradition of fantastic sailors who have had an interest in teaching and training the next generation.
While families typically introduce the sport, many young sailors develop their skills at the Geneva Lake Sailing School.
They definitely have a huge variety of boats here and a lot of different coaches and just a lot of different clinics that you can experience.
Why would we want you to pick a side?
And you're surrounded with a lot of people who are
so similar to you, similar interests, come from similar backgrounds, all these sort of things that you don't get at a typical school or through other clubs. So it's a really good way to spend your summers.
Caroline, look at your sail.
I think that the coaches here are a lot more motivated to teach you to learn, and they're more serious than the coaches at other yacht clubs.
Please sail away from his bad air, okay?
It's really that sort of a hybrid of both introducing people who know nothing about sailing, who haven't had the opportunity to sail, and then also pushing those advanced sailors where we're getting kids involved, passionate about sailing, who really want to do it and do it at the highest level.
I'm ready for the yacht.
Ever the teacher, legendary sailor Buddy Melges will occasionally drop by to work with the kids.
Thank you, dear.
No problem.
He's surprisingly humble for what he's achieved in his life, so he's an interesting person to talk to.
So where are you guys all from?
Or sometimes just to share a story.
If this is the shoreline here, it's going to leave the shoreline like that. So I might be sailing in here with a big starboard lift.
I've read his books, and it was really cool that I got to see him, because yesterday was the first time.
So what do you think, guys? Is the grizzled old beaver still teach you a few things or not?
Yeah, we're always learning from his leader.
Most of Buddy's teaching, like his sailing, is by the seat of his pants.
The wind is still there. You see the puffs going out? Hey, you gotta name every one of them puffs when you're really serious about this.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So it's between you, the sail, and Mother Nature of who's going to win the race. And that makes it really interesting.
It's funny. I've been blessed to win a lot of sailing events. But even when I was sailing my best, Buddy would have a list of things that I did wrong all the time, always improving us. And I think that's passed down to this next generation where we're always trying to make them better.
Buddy's trained sailors that are the top in the world. And those people know how to get their kids involved. If you look who's going now, a lot of them are the kids of the people that learned from Buddy.
For the serious young sailors, there's the Buddy Melges Racing Team.
The Geneva Lake Sailing School was founded in 1938. It has a long pedigree of creating or training champions in the inland and expanding into racing around the world with a lot of success.
The race team offers a rigorous schedule of physical conditioning, classroom instruction, and coaches who teach tactical sailing skills and racing maneuvers.
We have kids coming from places like Colorado, most of the lakes around, North Lake, Pine Lake, Pewaukee, Winnebago, and we actually have kids coming from Chicago as well. So what we are trying to do, and this is where we try to carry the tradition of Buddy Melges, is to build a truly national level team that doesn't just stop at being the best in the inland. It doesn't just stop with having a 10-week season, but we expand beyond.
There you go, trim that sail, shoulders out, hike a little bit. Mia, trim and hike.
So it creates a team that offers unique opportunities for the kids to go beyond being great inland sailors, to pursue dreams such as going to world championships, maybe being Olympians or Olympic winners, or America's Cup champions one day.
And the Sailing School and Yacht Club work together to teach the next generation more than just sailing.
When we were out on the water, we were trained and taught to compete at the highest level, but also be sportsmen. It's all about sportsmanship and fair sailing. You have to be honest and live your life with integrity, and I learned that on the water.
Sail fair, square, and treat your competition as friends and competitors the way you want to be treated.
I think to be a good sport, I'd say that's one of the major things, and to try to take the lessons you've learned from sailing and pass them on.
You really do learn a lot, about yourself and how you work, how you strategize, how you,
work with other people, how you communicate. You know, it's just like a lot of good like strengths that you really gain from just being out in the water.
I think it's good for kids because it gives them independence and it gives them responsibility. And they learn how to follow instructions. They learn consequences if they don't. Typically the consequences aren't that disastrous, but they're embarrassing. So I think they learn from that.
The greatest thing that I can say is the friendships that have been developed as a result of coming together, the love of the lake, the love of sailing, the love of racing, the love of being together.
Sorry. Oh, I want to see all our kids, all the kids racing and having fun doing it and learning how to win and being gracious doing it.
Well, to watch the boys yesterday, in that breeze that they were in, the only thing I think about is the people having fun and enjoying my lake.
While families formed the Lake Geneva Yacht Club, it was the desire for competition that prompted leaders to join a forward-thinking group that would play a critical role in guaranteeing its future and the future of sailing, the creation of the Inland Lake Yachting Association.
Lake Geneva was one of the founding clubs in the ILYA. They had a representative, Benjamin Carpenter, at the original meeting that put the association together. They were instrumental early on in getting the inland going. They were all in Scows and has been really from that day one a major player in the ILYA.
Benjamin Carpenter was voted Secretary-Treasurer at the first meeting in 1897 and wrote the first set of racing and boat measurement rules ever approved by the ILYA. He also spearheaded the push to host the third annual ILYA Championship Regatta in 1900.
Well, Lake Geneva Yacht Club, the design of the program is around great racing with really good race management, but also a robust social life that really helps people to get together, caters to families, and then makes a sense of family out of the competitors themselves.
It's awesome. There isn't a lake anywhere that has this kind of sailing vibe. With the new building, there are very few facilities like this that can do big sailing stuff. And we got it right here in Lake Geneva. I mean, it's just a wonderful thing.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. Look at the people. Our membership has dramatically increased. Our usage has gone up spectacularly. So it's obviously increased the interest in sailing and people and activity and kids.
I really like sailing because there's a lot of people that you meet and friends you make.
It's just a great way to exercise and have fun, hanging out with your friends. If you're all sailing, you can just go race for a few hours in the morning, or if there's a good wind day, just go tool around and have fun yourself.
Mostly, it's just it's a good community. You don't get a lot of communities and camaraderie and good people in certain sports like this. The sport is awesome.
I think a yacht club depends on the officers and directors. I was happy enough to serve as Commodore of this yacht club in 91 and 92.
Beyond her leadership at the Lake Geneva Yacht Club, Gloria's profound volunteer efforts were recognized when she became the first recipient of the prestigious ILYA Hughes Sportsmanship Trophy in 2019.
I'm just hoping it stays happy and that everybody loves the game of sailing and tries their best to make our club the club that it should be, warm and welcoming to all the people who will come and sail here.
The mission of the Lake Geneva Yacht Club from the earliest days was to have good sailing for the members, to educate them about racing, to have good race committee work, and to educate young people.
Get that bow out of the water.
I think that a club that began in 1874, rich in tradition, that it's so important to pass along what made us us. Not only just the building, but the people and the sailors and the leaders that have arisen over the course of years.
We have a lot of energy around here in the younger ranks. You can feel it, you can see it in the numbers, how many people are participating, how many young kids are getting out on all types of boats.
I love to share the knowledge I have to some of these young sailors we have here.
So one of the great junior sailors on Lake Geneva.
I just hope that some of the people I've impacted with helping them and all can carry on and do that same thing.
Are you guys tired already?
So we have that mentality here and that passion from the older generation. Everybody's interested in passing on their knowledge and passing on their passion for the sport. And I think that's made a huge difference here at Lake Geneva.